Hello class, once again this is Coach Smith giving you the science gift. What we're going to do today is go over a few instruments, and then it is possible that I'll question you over these instruments. Could be in a daily assignment, could be in a quiz. So make sure you listen carefully. The name of the object or instrument or piece of equipment that I'm showing now is called an anemometer. This anemometer is used to measure wind force and velocity. So not only is it measuring the force of wind, it's also measuring the speed, how fast that wind is going, and also the direction that it's blowing. Can you think of any places that this may be useful? Again, this is an anemometer, and that's spelled A-N-E-M-O-M-E-T-E-R. Anemometer. This measures wind force and velocity. Velocity, we know, is just speed with direction. The instrument we have here is give some of y'all a few seconds to think about it. Most of you guys know what it is. It's an electronic balance. The electronic balance is an electronic equipment used for finding the mass of an object, usually the grams of an object. It's probably a little bit more accurate when it's set correctly than a spring scale or than a triple beam balance, because it's giving you down to the single units or the tenths and the hundredths of the grams. This is an electronic balance. These three things, as you may have guessed, are called graduated cylinders. Graduated cylinders. These are used to find the volume of liquids in a quantitative manner. These are used to find the volume of liquids in a quantitative manner. Usually when it's this size, they're usually measured in milliliters. Now, there is a way that you can measure the volume of a solid. Can any of you guys tell me how you would do that? If you said find the displacement, you would be correct. What you would do is put some water in it and see where the mark is of that water. You'd read the bottom of what is called a meniscus to see where the water level is. Let's say the water level is at 10 milliliters. And then I drop a rock in there and it rises to 20 milliliters. Then that would tell me that that rock has a volume of 10 milliliters, because all you would do is subtract the beginning point of your meniscus or water level from the top point or the high point of your meniscus. So 10 minus 20 would be 10. That would tell me the volume of that rock would be 10 milliliters. This instrument here is something everybody has used before, hopefully. It is a microscope, and this is used to observe microscopic things such as bacteria. They have different kind of microscopes. Some of them have a single eyepiece, and some of them have the two eyepieces. I happen to prefer the single eyepieces because when I try to look through the double, it seems to mess with my vision a little bit. Again, this is a microscope. The actual definition of it is an optical instrument that uses a lens or a combination of lenses to produce magnified images of small objects, especially of objects too small to be seen by the unaided eye, such as bacteria, like I said earlier. And you'd be really surprised. A lot of people like to stick their tongue out when it's raining outside and let those raindrops hit their tongue. You'd be very surprised if you ever caught some of those raindrops and actually looked through a microscope at what you'd see. I can almost guarantee most of you would never catch raindrops with your tongue again. This here is a microscope slide, and this is used to actually put the specimens on that you're going to look through the microscope and see. Alright, what you would do here is you'd have a microscope slide, and you'd have what's called a cover piece, which is a clear piece of glass just like the microscope slide, and you'd put the specimen in between the two, and then look through the microscope to see it. This is a microscope slide. This interesting thing here is called a psychrometer. Psychrometer is an instrument that uses different readings in between two thermometers to measure the moisture content and relative humidity of the air. So it measures the humidity in the air. This is something you won't have to worry about this year in science. We will not use one of these. In fact, I've never used one of these in my life in any of the labs in college or high school. Again, this is a psychrometer, and that is spelled P-S-Y-C-H-R-O-M-E-T-E-R. And again, that definition is an instrument that uses the difference in readings between the thermometers to measure the moisture content of relative humidity in the air. So you're basically measuring the humidity in the air with a psychrometer. This here is a spectroscope, and what you use a spectroscope for is to measure the light waves in light. We used to do experiments with the spectroscope and measuring the difference between the light waves with the fluorescent light in the room and then the light waves coming from the sun. And that was a pretty good experiment. For some reason our spectroscope started coming up missing. But this is a spectroscope, and it's spelled S-P-E-C-T-R-O-S-C-O-P-E. Spectroscope, an instrument used to measure light waves. The technical definition is an instrument used to measure spectra. These here are spring scales. Alright, they're used to also measure the mass of something in grams, or the weight of something in grams. You'll also see later when we get to physics how we can use the spring scales to measure force as well. To measure force. Now, there are some places that you've seen spring scales before and probably never knew what they were called. Give you a few seconds to think of some of the places that you may have seen spring scales and the use for them in everyday usage. And then I'll call on you. Alright, our last piece of equipment here is called a triple beam balance. What do you guys think is called a triple beam balance? Yeah, because it has 3 different weight points on it. It has the single measurements of grams and single digits. It has the measurement in tens. And then it also has the measurement in 100s. Alright, so that you can get a pretty accurate reading on a triple beam balance. The technical definition includes a pan to put the specimen on, 3 sliding weights that slide along the 3 scales or beams, and the pointer that points to 0 when everything balances out on the scale, and that pointer is at the very tip right here. This is where you'd look right there to see where it balances out. This is a triple beam balance, and that beam is B-E-A-M, not bean, not B-E-A-N, but B-E-A-M. And these are the instruments that, some of them, that we'll use throughout the year in science, so it's good to get a good knowledge of them. Again, this is Coach Smith giving you the science gift.